This project, Who's My Neighbor, is all about communities of interest. It's about finding new ways to identify groups of people with similar backgrounds, similar concerns, and similar ideas about what their neighborhood needs to thrive. Knowing where a community of interest is, who's in it and who's not, all of this is important. If I know who is in my community of interest, my COI, I then know who I can turn to when I need help with an issue, such as flood relief, or internet access, or even education quality, because these people are facing the same issue. Together, we can advocate for better conditions and solve our problems.
Knowing the makeup and geographic location of COIs is also useful to policymakers. In being aware of different communities and their concerns, politicians can anticipate needs and efficiently coordinate the best ways to meet them. This includes the need for fair political representation, so not creating congressional districts with vastly different COIs.
The problem that we addressed with this project is that actually identifying COIs is very difficult. Historically, community detection has revolved around narrative testimony, which is highly subjective and not always very detailed. The goal of our project was to find a data-driven way of identifying COIs, to develop a community detection methodology that's a little more streamlined and substantial. This was our workflow.
First, we drew on social science literature to decide what definition of community would guide us. Since we're focusing explicitly on communities of interest, we decided that people could be grouped based on 1, their demographics, and 2, their access to infrastructure, as these have been demonstrated to heavily influence what issues people care about. Our second step was devoted to the first part of this definition of community, demographics. We gathered demographic data from the 2020 census for all of North Carolina, broken down by census block group, and census block groups are the second smallest standard geographic unit recorded by the census, much smaller than counties. We then put all this demographic information into a geodata frame, where the geo part comes from the census block groups.
Next, we focus on the second part of our definition of community, access to infrastructure. We looked at a specific type of infrastructure, third places, which encompasses everything except where you live and where you work. And so that includes libraries, parks, gyms, places of worship, and many more. Using data from OpenStreetMap, we calculated the average distance to these different types of third places, basically to get an understanding of how easy it is to get to, and therefore socialize and form communities within these different places. We also included the total number of these types of third places under the assumption that a block group that has many third places may act as a magnet to attract other residents around them.
Another way we measured infrastructure connectivity is by using road data from OpenStreetMap to measure the ease of getting from one block group to another. We looked at residential buildings and assigned an initial population distribution to each block group, and then used diffusion along the road network graph to model how people move around the areas that surround their homes. We then measured this connectivity by counting how much of each diffused distribution ended up in neighboring block groups. We then combined the dual graph of the block groups with the third places connectivity graph. The idea is that block group connectivity can either amplify or dampen demographic similarity. By using block group connectivity as a scaling factor, we were able to create a similarity score between any two block groups.
Using this similarity score, we clustered census block groups together. Our aim was to see how our assessment of demographic similarity and infrastructure measurement grouped geographic areas together. We explored a number of different clustering techniques and algorithms such as Leiden, Paris, Surprise, and Spectral. Our ideal clustering algorithm was one that would assign each census block group to at least one community that allowed for overlapping communities and could work well with weighted graphs. So we chose our final algorithm based on that.
Lastly, we verified our clusters. We compared the communities that we identified to those discussed in redistricting hearings across North Carolina. And we also spoke with different partner organizations such as Kids Voting Durham, NC Counts, and Common Cause NC to refine our partitions and make sure they align with people's lived experiences.
Ultimately, we were able to create a map of communities of interest in North Carolina, supported by data on demographics and infrastructure, and share it with people who might be able to put it into good use. This is a first in community detection research, and we had a lot of fun being a part of it.